Welcome to the Awaken the Awesome podcast with your host, Olivier D. This is Awaken the Awesome, a podcast where we acknowledge that we are all in this together. Through enlightening conversations and personal insights, we like to engage with individuals just like you who show us how they are bringing a little bit of awesomeness along their individual journeys. Our hope is to inspire you to always keep pushing and to stay awesome along the way. To say that my next guest, Max de la Cruz, and I hit it off from day one is an understatement. You guys know this. Save for the initial introduction and booking process leading up to recording day, the conversations I have the honor of sharing on this podcast are oftentimes the first interaction I have with the guest. While I will admit there is some level of risk involved in such a process, I can tell you for a fact that there's a huge and resounding takeaway when you get to connect with someone who, in all honesty, truly happens to be on the same wavelength as you on so many levels. To keep things simple, let's draw up a checklist so you can see what I mean. Dedicated father, check. Loving husband, check. Fun-loving playfulness, check. Content creator and vlogger, check. Ferocious Entrepreneur, check. Author. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's still an item I need to knock off my personal bucket list, but you guys get the idea. On this episode, Max and I kick back and dive into a wide array of topics near and dear to both our hearts, such as leading by example, given the current pandemic, the importance of being present as opposed to simply giving presents, self-awareness, manhood, the grind, mental health. Suffice to say that this was indeed a jam-packed episode, and yet another exciting conversation, which I do hope you'll enjoy. So let's get into this. Awaken the Awesome, episode 125 with Max de la Cruz. Here we go. First and foremost, I really want to thank you because, again, I know these things are really like in the world of the interwebs and the Instagram acquaintances and connections. You know, when I was just talking with Daina, who was just like a recent guest on the podcast, and I was just like, hey, if you know anybody like, you know, who'd be down for this type of experience, because I'm such a laid back guy. And she's like, dude, like, really, like, you should have Max on. He's totally good people. It's like, who? It's like, who? And she sent me your profile, and I'm like, and I just blogged through. I just love the family Cruz vlog. I just love it because of like, oh, this is so similar. But first and foremost, obviously, it's a pleasure and a gem to welcome you on the podcast, Max. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. As you know, as we are about the podcast, it's all about, you know, just regular people, just like you and I, and, you know, just promoting the best that we can out there into the universe, because I believe that we're not such special snowflakes that, you know what, the best thing that can happen is for us, our story, and our experiences to help and inspire even one person. And if that can happen, it's a job well done. And, you know, I know you're all about that, you know, the fatherhood, the grind, the hustle. You're an author, you're a vlogger, you're an advocate of awesomeness, because I really love everything that you promote. And it's in that same fire and energy. I just want to welcome you on the podcast. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you very much for having me. Really, it's a pleasure. And you know, like you said, I'm all about connecting with people who wants to do something positive. I think we have there's so much negativity. I have so much room in our everyday lives or on the net or whatever, that every time I get the opportunity to collaborate or be a part of something great that is going to bring either awareness or bring something positive as a whole, I'm always down for it. So thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. We were talking just before hitting record. We were talking about how we as parents, you know, and I know a lot of people are talking about the pandemic and stuff, but I don't want to bring the entire negativity and toxicity about it. It's all about the reality that we all know as parents. Tell me, when it hit and officially that, you know, that the government, you know, passed the decision, you know what, everybody stay home. What were the first few days like for you?
Well, you know, personally, we always want to make sure that we spend time with our kids. We always want to make sure that we have enough time with them. We don't spend I get home from work and I'm just staying in front of my computer or everybody's in front of a tablet. So when it first hit, my initial thought was, all right, at least if we're home, we're going to be safe. My main focus was to make sure that all family members were safe. And then afterwards, I was pretty convinced, I was certain that whatever would happen, we will be able to work through it. But if we just had the mentality, okay, let's pull out the kids from daycare. And I think before that, I think we were gradually stopping. we stopped sending our youngest to the daycare a little bit because we noticed a lot of people were getting sick, and the parents, I understand some parents, they have no choice but to send their kids to daycare if even if the kids are sick because they have to work or whatnot. And we were noticing slowly that a lot of kids were sick and they were still at the daycare. And we were talking to the teachers. We're like, well, aren't you going to return them home? Can't you call the parents? And they're like, no, well, we have to keep them. So gradually we kept the kids at home. So when that first hit, for sure, it was, we were hit with something that was unknown and unfamiliar to us. But the main priority was just to make sure that everyone in the house was safe.
That says a lot about the mentality. And again, I'm not throwing shit at people who don't have kids, but, you know, talking from a father to another, I can't stray away from it because I'm very big about, you know, the advocacy of, you know what, kids don't ask to be born. So you have a role to play into their well-being. And that says a lot about, you know, the survival mode and the caretaker mode. You know what? Yeah, I'm sure that you, with all the reality of life, you know, job, obligations, bills and stuff, but at the core, what I'm hearing from you is like the main thing for you is to make sure that you and yours were safe, and there's no bigger thing than that. And walk us through that. You know, sometimes, you know, the selflessness of parenting.
Well, first of all, when I got my firstborn, I realized that okay, it's no longer about what I need. It's no longer about my needs. It's no longer about oh man, I wish I could go to the club. No, even though I didn't go to the club, but like I wish I could go out with my friends. As soon as I became a parent, like it was all about, okay, what can I provide to her to make sure that she has everything that she needs? My firstborn is a girl. So, and I stepped into that mentality, not thinking, okay, let me give her everything that I ever wanted, but let me give her everything that she needs. She's her own human being. She's her own self. So I had to make sure that I had to switch my mindset. Before it was only my wife and I, and tell you the truth, we were praying to have a kid. We were praying to have that to be able to have a kid, and we tried for so many years. So when finally we were able to have a firstborn, the first thing that we said to each other was like, no matter what, we need to make sure that the well-being of this child is top notch or is taken care of.
On point.
During that, on point, exactly. So even after that, when I did a few interviews for job, and even at my latest job, I told them, yes, I'm a purchasing manager and all that, but before that, I'm a father. So if my kid needs anything, if I need to be absent from the office, if I need to be there for her, for a dance recital or whatnot, I will make sure that I'm there. And they understood that. And I think this is a problem not a problem, but this is something that us as fathers or as parents, we need to make clear to everybody else that the kids need to come first. So I will not try to stay later at work just because I need to hand in that report. If I can't hand it in right now, it's going to be tomorrow. But if I have something with my kid, I will always try to make sure that she comes first.
Just to piggyback on that, because I was raised very traditionally as well. My father was on the road a lot. He was a civil engineer by trade, so he was always on job sites and going out of town and everything. Not to say that we weren't taken care of. We were loved, you know, to on point, as you said. But the thing is, and I totally understand, and it so resonated with me what you just said in regards to how we as individuals, as fathers and as parents, we need to put that to the forefront. It's no longer the reality of, you know what, the job first and then the family. No. You have to bring in that reality first and foremost. And if your employer is willing to back you up, good on you. And that, you know, employers also want to know that. You know, I'm not sure if you agree. Employees would like to know that. Like, okay, can I rely on you? Up to what point? Are you the kind of parent who are a kind of employee or collaborator who's going to put family first? Oh, okay. So I know which parameters to work with. And I think that conversation needs to happen, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that you're able to stand and say, okay, my family comes first, it shows that you're dedicated. It shows that you're not afraid of taking responsibilities. Like I wouldn't want, if I'm hiring someone that, okay, I have something with my family, but I'm going to cancel it just to make sure I stay longer at work. No, it's not about that. Your family needs to be your first ministry, before you try to impress anybody on the street or at work, you have to make sure that your family is taken care of, because it's useless to go on social media or outside to front an image of who you are if the person who are living with you have a complete or total different image of what you're supposed to be.
Definitely, because we get so lost into the portrayal of efficacy and reliability
Mm,
and being on the grind and everything. But if your home, your castle, your domain is not taken care of, the equation is not aligning. And I love what you
exactly.
said a little bit earlier in regards to yeah, if I need to hand that report, okay, if I'm at work, I'm at work. But if the report has got to wait because I got to be at the dance recital, I'm going to choose the dance recital. And you know what? It's something that you learn over time with career and jobs. And I'm saying this very openly, and you can contradict me if you want. There will always be work. There will now not always be time.
Oof, man, this is gold right there. This is a this is a title for this is a title. This is a big title, and yes, it's true. And you know what? I learned it the hard way.
How so?
When because the previous job that I had, they had the mentality or it was within the company's I guess I would say work ethics that everyone would work overtime, and we were not paid overtime.
Yeesh.
But the thing is that that was a different type of overtime. When I first did the interview, they told me, "Are you willing to work overtime?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like if I need to, if the job needs to get done and for a period of time, yeah, for sure, I'll do it." But then the overtime became, okay, well, you got to work until 2 or 3 in the morning because my boss was doing it, her boss was doing it, some of my colleagues were doing it, so they were doing it. So I was working until 2 in the morning. Then I had to
Mhm.
wake up at 6 and then start to work at 7. And then even on the weekend, sometimes I was working. But like you said, there will always be work. And one time I was working, and my oldest was like, "Well, Daddy, you're always working. Like, why can't you stop and play with us?" And then the light bulb went in. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, she's absolutely right. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I'm killing myself to get this thing done when I know that as soon as I close my email and I open it back up on Monday, I'm gonna have 30 other emails asking for 30 different things." So at that time, I spoke to my boss. I'm like, I understand the culture. That's the word that I was looking for. I understand the company's culture that everyone has to work overtime. They have to do sacrifices, but this is not for me. I cannot do that. And
And
it didn't go
it's
well. They didn't take it well.
well,
But I stood
at
my
least you
ground.
know where your values stand.
Exactly. Exactly.
And a
And
lot of
you know
people,
what?
yeah, go ahead.
No, no. I just wanted to say that after I stood my ground, for sure, it didn't go well for the next couple of months because they were, I guess they were still offended or whatnot. But then I ended up having a much better situation that I initially had with them. So I'm just thankful that I had the strength to just stand up and trace the line and tell them I will not be doing this.
And you know what? It totally resonates, whether it's in parenting or career or whatever holds true in regards to your values, in regards to your dedication, in regards to your sacrifice. You have to know what you're willing to suffer for. You're willing to suffer for X amount, not really money, but as you said, the company's culture. And if we're talking about, our career, because again, we're all about people who want to push and grind and everything. And you know what? You know that some certain things are going to cost you. They're going to cost you time. They're going to cost you energy, but it all has to balance. If your family's suffering, and as you said, kids, I'm sorry for the expression, kids are very good bullshit detectors. They
Yeah.
know. All right. So if your child can walk up to you and tell you, you know what, why are you always working? And it's the most naive question ever. And you could try to brush it off, but from what I'm sensing and from what you told yourself, because you had to actually stop and tell yourself, why am I working? Why am I working? And is that the type of conversation that you encourage with your children? Because I also want to hear your perspective in regards to, as opposed to when, how my previous generation were like, the parents' world and kids' world are two different things. I right now
Yeah.
believe you should be open with your kids. Like, don't tell them about, the mortgage and, the card needs to be fixing. But if you had a bad day at work, they should know. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree. Conversation and understanding of the current situation is something that is so crucial. I think from the way my mom brought me up, we need to, well, if I can compare from how my mom brought me up to how my style of parenting, I want to make sure that my children understand what's going on. So like you said, I'm not going to tell them, well, don't touch this because it costs so much. Like this is the cost of things and money, the money value is something that is done gradually. But I think if you're open with your children and you have a conversation with them, they also will be inclined to have a conversation with you when something is not going right. And this is something that we need to start as soon as they're able to talk and express their feelings and their emotions. I do that exercise with my oldest daughter, and even with my youngest who's 4. If I see that she's not into it or she's feeling sad, well, I'm trying to ask questions. I'm trying to say, okay, what's going on? I'm trying to relate to her problem. And if I have something that is happening in my life that I know that they can relate to, because they have a wonderful memory, like they remember things that I don't even remember. But so if I'm able to get something and I'm able to teach them something out of an experience that I'm living, I think it's all for the better in the long run. Sometimes I guess the parents, we start too late, either the education or discipline or talking with our children, but this is something that needs to be done as soon as we can. And one thing also, if I can revert back to
Sure.
when I was working a lot, I saw a quote that actually I had posted on our page, and it said, "Children don't say I had a hard day. Can we talk? They say, well, come and play with me." And then once I realized that, okay, it could be true. Like a kid will not tell you, "Oh, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling sad, or such and such at the daycare at school was mean to me." Kids will always say, "Can you come and play with me?" And at that point, when my daughter said, "Okay, well, you're working so much, like, why can't you play with us?" It clicked, and I'm like, you know what? They need your presence far more than any financial present that you can give them. Like your presence is gold for kids. So I really encourage the dialogue with our kids. And the parents that could be saying, "Well, they're too young, they don't understand," that's not true. That's absolutely not true.
Because it's so empowering to know that, you know what, as much as you think they're not listening, they know. They
Oh
know.
yeah.
They know when you're off. They know when, it's so funny. Just talking to you right now, I just had a light bulb that just hit me when I had that same conversation with my kid just last week. What happened is just like you, sometimes, like, I have to go into the office, because right now I managed to maybe 50-50 work from home and go back to the office. And what happened, as you know, I work in service in my 9 to
Hmm.
5. So I'm involved with all, like, shipping, production, sales, but the salespeople sometimes have attitudes. So what happened? I just had
What?
like a fiery conversation with a sales rep, and let's just say, like, it wasn't like the most pleasant one. And I come
Hmm.
home, and my daughter actually saw, like, "So daddy, how was work?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was like, I did this, I did that, this, I was that." And then it's like, "Yeah," and daddy had, an argument with a friend. I was just calling it a friend. It's like, "And how do you feel, daddy?" And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Well, I'm a little bit upset because I didn't like how he spoke to me." It's like, "Did you tell him?" I'm like, and she flips it on me. "But daddy, you're always telling me when my friends are not nice to me at school, I should tell them, not be mad at them, not scream at them, but I should at least tell them. At least they know how I feel. But did you tell him?" And I'm like, did she just reverse mindset me right now? I'm like, wow. If you
That's
think your kids
amazing.
are dumb, your kids are not dumb. Your kids are
Oh
very
no, man.
aware, and your kids will
Yeah.
let you know. And you need to have these dialogues. You need to, you know?
True, true. Yeah, it's capital. And I was having a conversation with someone last night. They were saying, "Oh, the way my father brought me up." I think we were talking about correction and his father using the belt, and if he would be using the belt. So he was like, "Well, the way my father brought me up, that's all
Hmm.
that I know. So if he whipped me with the belt, then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pass it down from generation, and then it was going to be up to my kids to do something else." I was like, "Nah, man. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be. Like, I understand that, okay, your father brought you up in a certain way, but you don't have to repeat generational errors just because you feel like it's the easiest thing to do. Like, you need to change your mindset." So the conversation thing, I know that parents from the previous generation, they were not big on that. Like, you don't talk back to your parents, you don't ask questions, you do as you're told, and that's it. But that's not, how do you want to help the kid develop if every time he wants to ask a question, or if he wants to question something that he doesn't understand, that you tell him, "Okay, be quiet, that's it, because that's that." So yeah.
Where's the balance? Because it's kind of a, catch 22 question, because we want to teach our children open communication. We want to teach our children independence, and we want to teach them resilience and standing on their own two feet. But at the same time, we need to instill that discipline. We need to instill, that respect, not respect for authority, but, I'm a parent. You still need to do what I tell you, even though you don't like it. How do you balance that? Because sometimes it does get tricky. Because sometimes they'll just talk back at you, and you're like, if you had said that to your grandfather.
Oh yeah, definitely that would be that would be terrible. I think again, like if I can take an example, like let's say my kids. They're kids, so they leave things hanging around. So they play with something, oh, they do something else. They play with something, oh, they do something else. But I take the time to explain to them, okay, you need to pick up after yourself. Why that? Because you need to have a clean house. It reduces the causes of accidents, such and so and so and so and so. So there's so many times where you repeat yourself. So once you gave the child the basis of why he needs to do something, then there shouldn't be any questions of why. Or back talking, or the child trying to try to test your authority. And you said authority, but you are, as a parent, you are the authority figure. You are the one who's protecting the child and providing for the child. So I understand questions that are related to maybe something that they do not understand. But anything I think that is related to order and discipline. For sure, they will ask questions of why they need to do something, but at a certain time or a certain amount of time that you're going to repeat yourself, they're going to understand that it's for a better purpose than just, okay, he's just telling me to do something because that's that. So there's still always a level of explanation, but then again, I'm not saying that not everything that you need to do, you need to explain to the child. So I think, like I said, it's a catch-22, but there needs to be a balance. So I guess that's the best way I could explain to that.
Oh, that's golden. That's golden right there. Because the reason I asked that is because I want our compadres, our fellow men out there, whether aspiring fathers or seasoned fathers, to let go. Because I'm also very big about this, about the entire toxicity of the male identity. I believe that we are in a time where we need to evolve. I believe that we have a choice and a responsibility to actually push the needle forward in regards to how we promote ourselves as men, not just to our daughters. You have a daughter, I have a daughter as well, but also for the future in regards to our mates and how we relate to the female gender going forward. Because I believe that every single day that's given to us on this earth is a day to change the conversation and the dynamic. And I know you're also very big about that as well. You make family, first and foremost, out of that's a cornerstone into your message. Mindset is also very important for you. And, I was just wondering, has it always been like that for you? Like, the mindset angle, just like, because you're a warrior, because you're always about, fierceness and like, courage and, just attack the day. And I've never heard you say in any one of your contents, like, even I'm sure you do have hard days like every single one of us, but you're always about, what? Today is another opportunity and let's push forward. And I was just wondering, where did that germinate from? Where did that come from?
Well, from two people, my father and my mother. My mother, because she raised me by herself. So she was working. She was working in a nursing home, but she was working very hard, and she managed to raise three kids. I was the last one, and I was the last one also. I was staying with her until I got married, but I never saw her like when she was sick. She was like, you know what? I still need to work. I still need to make it happen. She was driven. She was focused, and she was bold. But at the same time, she was sweet. She was like I forget the perfect balance. But the drive that my mother had, and then at a very young age, I saw her. I'm like, wow. Like, it doesn't matter if she's sick. It doesn't matter if it's snowing. At a certain point, she didn't have a car, so she had to wake up at 4 a.m, take the bus at, I think it was 4:45, 5 a.m., get to work, do everything, come back home, cook for me, make sure the house is clean, go to bed, and then start all over again. So I was like, man, I need that. That seriously impacted me very much. So I always had like, you know what, I need to work, not because of financial reason, but because I need to stay driven. I cannot let any life situation happen and just stop me from my purpose and my goal. And the other person that, like I said, was my father, but it was for the totally opposite reason. My father is a man that shies away from confrontation, shies away from anything that is that requires him to own up to either his word or anything that he said. Like he backpedals a lot. And when him and my mother got separated, I lost contact with him. But every time I got in touch with him, he was always scared. He was always shying away. He was not providing what I needed in a father figure. So it was like, when I was growing up, I'm like, you know what? At first, for sure, I had resentment. I was mad at him and so on and so forth. But then afterwards, once I grew older, I'm like, you know what? I will not repeat what he did. You know, I know some men sometimes they use that as an excuse. Well, my father wasn't there, so I don't know how to be a father. Or my father wasn't there with my mother. He never showed love to my mother, so I don't know how to love my wife. That's ridiculousness. Like I was telling the guy, you can't just repeat generational errors just because that's what you had as an example. You have the opportunity to find father figures or find inspiration elsewhere. So these two combined together made me, I guess, made me who I am today. And the fact now that I have children, I have 3 children, I think it increases it even more. So I'm really driven and focused to make sure that I need to make things happen, and not because, like I said, not because I need to provide for them financially, but because there's always going to be something. Like we said, there's always going to be work, but there's always going to be something that's going to happen from one week to another. And I cannot decrease my level of dedication or the truthfulness that is behind my word because I had a bad day.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful because who we are about, and it's not about who we say we are on social media and whatever the blogs might say about us, but who matters to us. Who are the people that are always there to witness us, our loved ones, our significant others, and our children, if we're lucky to have them, because everybody's journey is very singular. And just like you know, not too late ago, just like maybe over the weekend, you know, when you're just sitting there and you're just like, okay, the kids can actually go watch Netflix. But at the same time, I was just going outside, just doing some yard work. So I put breakfast for everybody. It was like 6 a.m., put breakfast for everybody. All right. Coffee's running for my wife who's still sleeping. Grab my stuff, go outside, start raking the yard. And lo and behold, I see the patio door. My daughter comes in. It's like, Daddy, can I help? I'm like, yo, okay. And I didn't ask. I didn't wake her up. I didn't say like, okay, I expect you to go. No, she's just like, Daddy, I'm ready. Okay, what can I do? What can I do? I'm like, wow. These are the things that you value. These are the things that tell you, at least I did this good job. Let me attack the other day. You know what? And that is a very powerful statement. So thank you. Thank you for speaking that into the universe, because that's true, because men need to hear this. You need to be about that, because your kids, trust me, they are watching you. And if you're telling me like, well, you know, I don't have kids, No, trust me. Somebody's watching eventually, if that's your ambition. What else I want to talk to Max about? How have you been able to create, you know, because again, we've all been thrown into this very big whirlwind of, you know, isolation and self-confinement and everything. And because again, it's all about balance, because, you know, being stuck in such close corners because again, I'm not saying you hate your family, but sometimes I know how proximity can cause a little bit of, let's just call it a hailstorm sometimes, and you need to create that balance, you know, whether in or out of the home. How does a guy like you create balance? Because I do believe through all the conversations I've had with these champions, just like yourself, balance is important. You can't give what you don't have. So how does Max de la Cruz create balance to be able to get back into the world and attack? How do we achieve that?
Well, working out is one of the things that helps me create balance. But I think the fact that I'm working during the day and then I see the kids a little bit on and off, at the end of the day, I think since we keep going with the same, we'll keep the same schedule also for the kids even after let's say the school day, quote unquote, is done. So there's different ways that we do that. So yes, there is spending time with the kids, either indoor or outdoors. Then I always try to take the time to also work out. Physical health is also such a key thing that we need, that sometimes we undervalue. Sometimes we take it as a chore where it is something that is so beneficial to our health. And then afterwards, there's different projects also that I'm working on that keeps me passionate. So like the man cave was one of these things. Finding
Congrats on that, man. Congrats.
yes,
Some fire content right there. I can't wait for the one with Taylor. I'm really looking forward to that one.
yes, it's and you know that came about because one day I was just like on my cell phone, and then I don't know why, for some reason, like I think that night, like everybody was on live, everybody was doing a live thing, and then I just breezed through the different lives, and then I realized that okay, like there's a lot of content, but there's not a lot of substance. So a lot of people
fighting words.
Hey, you know what? I stand by those. I started my the first man cave like that. I told them if you're looking for something that is going to be trash or a conversation between men who are just hiding their feelings behind sexual innuendos and making sex jokes just to be funny, that's not it. So we're not there for that. And there's enough I'll call it trash, but there's enough trash out there like that. We don't need that. Men do not need that. Men need to hear. No, men need to hear conversation about okay, brother, you're a king. There's a mindset that you need to have. It's okay sometimes if you feel down. Okay, how did you manage to go through this situation, to that situation? So for the first man cave, I had a guest who's also a stand-up comedian, and you know he started while we were having the conversation, he started talking about his divorce. And he was talking about, yeah, well, I was in depression, I went down and this and that. And that was so genuine because a lot of people gave me feedback concerning that. Well, thank you for talking about being so open, being so honest. Because, you know, divorce, sometimes we tend to think, okay, well, we divorce, the guy just, okay, he pays a certain amount for the kids and then he goes live his life. But it's not true. Men have emotions as well. Like as crazy as it may seem for some people, men go through depression, men go through times where they need help, where they need support system. So the man cave, I was like, man, this needs to be the spot where we're able to have a honest conversation about different things related to men. So not only fatherhood, but I think also fatherhood is so key and so important because we tend to push fatherhood to the side. Like, okay, motherhood is everything. The mothers is the CEO. They do this and that. And it's true. Mothers do a lot of things. I do not want to knock off any work that a mother puts in because I know the work that my wife puts in. I know the work that a mother in general puts in. But the value that resides into having a father figure and fatherhood is also, it's so needed. And, you know, I found that sometimes we only talk about fatherhood when, let's say, there's a lack of something or when there's an incident. Oh, well, he didn't have no father, so that's why. But how come we don't talk about those fathers who are providing? Those fathers, like you said, you prepared the breakfast, you raked the leaves, you did everything. Like, we need to big up also the men who are fulfilling their responsibilities as fathers.
Can I throw one in there?
Sure.
Because the thing is, I think, and chime in however you want, but that's my raw feeling. Because I think it's because society or the other for us comes like it's an expectation. Well, you're supposed to, you know. So why do I need to applaud you for something you're supposed to do? Yeah, but I am still doing it. It's you see what I'm saying? Because I'm even having a little bit of a not discomfort, but hesitation to actually say it. But I know there's that in there because it's expected of you to take care of the leaves. It's expected of you to actually be the man. But it's a little bit more layered than that. And as you said, we have feelings too. Men also cry. Men also go through depression. I went through depression myself. And you know, it's a very sincere thing. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. Very rude. I apologize.
No. Go ahead. I think we're having an organic conversation.
No, but it was very intense because when you have to realize that you as a man, and I did an interview last week. I was invited on a women's panel about the role of the man in the couple. And, you know, I found myself being very vulnerable about it and been saying that, okay, ladies, you may be wanting to take just a little step back and try to be able to, okay, let's agree that your man is home because us as men have not been brought up to communicate, be vulnerable, share our feelings because it's very recent. It's very new. So we have to carry that insecurity with us. So yes, we'll be clumsy in the way we communicate our emotions. That's one thing. Second, also parallel to that, women, and I'm going to say it, have not been brought up to receive the communication from men. So basic scenario, you're going to come in and you had a crappy day and your significant other, your wife or the other, is going to actually say like, "What's up with you? What's your problem?" It's like, but because you're the man, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be the rock. You're supposed to be strong. Like, who are you? Why would you be depressed? Why would divorce affect you? Like, no. Why would it be? I'm being sarcastic, but I'm being very truthful. And I think that's some of the weight that men are carrying. Feel free to chime in. I'm probably just talking like out of the blue
No, no,
here,
no.
but that's how
Well,
I
no,
feel.
no, no, no. I totally agree with you. And you know what? There's a man there's a guy that said once. He said, it's not manly to take care of your kids. So it's not manly for a man to play with his kids or have fun with his kids. It's not to that person. It was not an act that was manly. And I was like, in what world are we living in for even a man to even consider that? Like, if only you knew the value that you bring by being there, the memories that you're able to create for your children. Like, you wouldn't even think of saying that. So I'm baffled sometimes at the way that some people think concerning fatherhood or their view on manhood, and I can't really blame it on that person particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's their entourage or the way that it was brought up. But like I said before, like there's so many means of seeking knowledge and trying to get new revelation, if I could say it like that, concerning your current status that it's impossible for me to think that way.
Obviously, obviously, and
So
it's all
yeah.
about the reality that you speak into your own universe, because you have a choice. You talked about it. Okay, father did not give you the proper, let's just say, script in regards to what you perceived a father should be, and you could have taken the excuse. You know what? Didn't have a father. He wasn't around. I didn't have an example. Okay, what was me? Might as well be an abusive father, an absentee father, a totally crappy father, as they call deadbeat dads. And I want that word to disappear, but there are some of them out there. But at the same
Mm.
time, we have the power to overcome, and that's something that men need to step into. How can we help them do that, Max?
Well, first it starts with opening up about how they feel. If you don't talk about how you feel, you're not going to be able to get to the root of the problem. Personally, when I got married, I could say like, well, my wife kept saying that every time she had to get something out of me, she had to dig deep, she had to dig, and ask questions, and then finally, I give a bit of information. I would not give the full information or whatnot, but I still gave a bit of information. And I think men, we are trapped into that. So we need to have platforms. We need to have, we need to break that mentality that men are supposed to be tough and strong and not cry and just be robots, deliver the money and shave. Like we're more than that. So if we need to for starter, if we break that all mentality within our circle of men, then afterwards work on the communication and work on expressing when something is bothering you, and not just, personally, I was trapped in that a little bit. I had a saying, I don't know how to say it in English, I think it's in French. No, you pick your battle.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's a saying, say, okay, no, you pick your battle. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not gonna matter, whatever, you just brush it off. But then I realized that I was picking my battles and I was brushing it off, but I was still thinking about it. I was still mad about it. So okay, yeah, I'm picking my battles. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. But then afterwards, I was just piling up all that dirt, all that anger, all that madness inside of me, where I should have just started speaking about it. Like, okay, let me talk about this. Let me try to break down how she's thinking of the way that she acted or whatnot. So we run into that problem also, that we want to pick and choose our battle because we don't want to hear our wife nag. We don't want to hear this. We don't want to get into an argument because it's Friday night. We don't want to have a headache because of this. But we fail to realize that by avoiding those little arguments, then we're creating a war within ourselves, and then we're the only one suffering from the storm. So we need to be able to communicate and talk.
We need to do that. And going back on what you're saying earlier, we need to choose to, again, yes, pick your battles, because sometimes some arguments are not worth it. And sometimes, you know what, you need
True.
to let sleeping dogs lie. You know what? Just leave it alone. It's totally fine. It's not retreating. It's just, just choosing, is this worth the heartache and the frustration? I totally get those. We've all been through those. But
Yeah.
I also encourage our compadres, I'm calling them our compadres, you need to actually face the storm. You know why? Because you need to get better. Because there is something as fighting, and fighting fair, and fighting well. Because sometimes by avoiding so much arguments, sometimes it only takes that one little stupid little thing for things to escalate and blow out of proportion. And that's
True.
when you say or do something that you can't take back. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
No, like I said, I'm living proof of that. Like, I was picking and choosing my battles all the time. So I was not confronting on anything. So I did that for years. And then afterwards, we had a big argument. But that was like a cancer eating me. So, like I said to our compadres, yeah, for sure, we need to pick and choose our battles, but it cannot be all the time. You cannot want to avoid confrontation. You need at times to explain your point of view on things. And especially if you're in a relationship with someone that's been years and years and years that you've been together, people change. People change over time. It's not because you're married. The person you're married to now is not the same that you when you met her or met him like 10 years ago. That person changed and evolved.
So true.
And
a lot of people forget that.
Yeah. And if we don't take the time to reconnect, because sometimes we fall into the routine of, okay, work, then the kids, and then we try to get 1 or 2 vacations during the year, and then we grind and we hustle. But if we don't take the time to reconnect and recalibrate everything, oh man, it can be so dangerous. So that's why afterwards, after like you see people after 50 years, oh yeah, we divorced. You divorced after 50 years? Yeah, I didn't love him. Like, what, did you guys take the time to know each other, know about each other's interests? I'm not saying that you need to love everything that person does, but you need to be able to allow yourself. You need to allow yourself to grow, and you need to understand the growth also of your partner. Otherwise, you're just going straight onto a wall.
It can't always be about you, because empathy starts with the ability and the patience to be able to assess the situation from the other person's perspective. I know it is easier said than done, but it comes with practice, and it's only the longevity of, long-term relationships that's going to bring that in. And, just piggybacking on that. And you guys have been together how long?
It's going to be 12 years in July.
My man. My wife and I have been together as a couple 16. We've been married for 12. And the thing is, right now, and you can totally, piggyback on this one, is the thing is, I hesitate to think that right now a lot of people are not in it for the long run, Max. It's just like you get into a relationship, and I see some couples getting together, and within the first 6 months, they already bought a condo, and they already have a kid. And I know I'm probably throwing shade, and a lot of people are going to backslash me for this, but I'm calling it as I see it. I'm sorry, I'm very traditional, and I'm not judging, but I am concerned. Is that something that you're noticing? And should we be worried about, the longevity of relationships? Because a lot of people are complaining, why should I be, if I know it's not working within the first 2 years, like, why saddle myself? Like, let's just call it quits now. How do you feel about that?
Well, man, here's the thing. Like, often people who try to build fast, they do not understand that the foundation needs to be solid. So, okay, yeah, we got together and we've met for, I don't know, we've talked to each other for like 6 months, and then we buy this, we buy that. But you need to understand that if you're in it, you first of all, you need to understand that you're in it for the long run. If you want to build something that is solid, but also you need to be able to work on repairing anything that it breaks throughout the traveling of the journey of either marriage or of the relationship. So people are not keen on working on their flaws. It's easier for them to just, okay, we stop it off and it's not working. Why is it not working? Is it not working because you're not working on yourself, or is it not working because you're not understanding the other person's perspective? So we need to get back to that. We need to get back to, we need to make fixing broken things cool again. We need to do that. So when there's whether it's a breakage in the conversation or a breakage in the understanding, whatever, whether it's whatever the different obstacles that we meet in a relationship, now we need to be able to to dedicate ourselves to repair that and to work on it, and not just, okay, well, I feel like I don't love him anymore, or okay, well, if you feel like that person has changed, maybe you have changed. Maybe you guys have not talked about it. Like there's a lot of symptoms of I want to divorce, symptoms like, oh, I want to cheat, or symptoms or I'm interested to someone else. But the symptoms does not mean that it's a terminal illness. The symptoms just mean that there's something wrong, and we need to sit together and work on that situation to make sure that the symptom goes away. If you feel like you're sneezing and you're sick, well, you're not going to start signing your will because you're going to die. No, you're going to take the steps that are necessary in order for you to get back up, in order for you to keep going. Same thing as relationship. Like we need to be able to work through the symptoms, if I can call them like that, in order to see better days.
It totally resonates with a lot of stuff that you promote, and you know this as as a grinder, as you are, as a champion, as an entrepreneur. Everything worth having, and you hear this a lot as me. Anything worth having is worth the effort, is worth the sacrifice, is worth the time, because it's a perfect trifecta of elements that need to get you to this little thing called success. And you know what? There's no going around it. It's not 2 seconds. There's no quick formula, because every couple is different. Obviously, we all have different stories. We all have different scripts that led us here together. And if we're going to walk this journey down this road, we need to be able to understand each other every single day. It's a daily grind. And I applaud you for that, because it's not easy, my man.
At all, it's not easy.
One of the things I also always like to tip the hat to anybody who's published a book is probably in top notch in the pyramid of awesomeness in my book, because I know writing a book is not easy, whether it's a cookbook, whether it's anything. But when someone goes deep into trying to be the right hand man of your pregnant spouse, it's something that I truly celebrate. I celebrate you for that, man. Writing a book is not easy, and I want you to just to know that it's a very, very big thing for men. For whether aspiring fathers who already been to 2 or 3 kids, guys, check it out. Max's book, Becoming a Cornerstone. You chose that word well. A cornerstone in a house that love built. What was the catalyst for that?
You know what? Initially, it started as I think it started as a joke, because I was working at a place and I had one of my colleagues who was pregnant, and then there was a friend of ours who, actually my son-in-law, what was I saying? My godson, who, the mother of my godson, who was pregnant, and there was 2, 3 women that were pregnant around me, and I was saying as a joke, I'm like, you know what? One day I will write about how a man should navigate with the pregnant women, because everybody has hormones, everybody wants this, everybody wants that, so it was a tough situation. And then I said it, but it didn't really pay any mind to it. And then afterwards, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and it was a little bit complicated. And then afterwards, on the second child, it got more complicated. And then on the third child, I would say that I was almost like a single father, because my wife was really sick. She was okay at the beginning, but then near the end, she was really not feeling well. And I'm like, you know what? I think I need to share that experience about, okay, how you need to roll up your sleeves as a man and really take action and take that mental as a father to really provide for your family. That's why I said somewhere in the book, I said, well, fatherhood doesn't start when the child is born. Fatherhood begins as soon as you know that you're going to become a father. Your whole mindset needs to shift. So I wanted to do that, and also what I did is that I asked mothers and mothers-to-be. Some of them were pregnant, some of them just gave birth, and some of them were mothers with experience. I asked them, what are the things that your spouse or man are doing wrong? Because I want to write something for not only show my perspective on how I did things, but I also want to write something for the fathers-to-be to look out for. So I had probably 40 women answering me, and it was great to have that type of feedback and see their energy concerning that project. But it was also sad when I was reading some of the things that their spouse did to them. If I could share one, one of her was like, well, he didn't do anything. He let me shovel. He let me do the cooking, even though I was telling him that I was hurting. And I was reading that and I was like, man, give me a man's phone number. Let me talk to him. Like, what's going on? Like, I cannot understand how you could let your pregnant spouse shovel the driveway because you had a long day at work, and then let her come back home and cook dinner for your lazy butt. I'm sorry, like it doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
So there was some things that were sad, but there was also some things that were great. So there was a good balance, if I could say it like that. So I wanted to write that book not only to share my perspective, but also to not write just another book where we talk about, the baby is sleeping and then this is how you change the diaper. We don't need that. We need to know what we need to establish as a foundation to have a house that is based on love.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
and it's a very powerful account because these are the conversations that need to happen because especially from a man's perspective, a lot of people sometimes they that why are you always putting the man? Yes, because again, you don't understand how sometimes it's hard for men to put their perspective out there, and especially
Yeah.
how we can come together, not for our women and for our spouses and our children, and to show a better side of what we perceive our role to be. And I really applaud you for that because it's a really, 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 really great initiative. And it's a terrific, terrific thing. Wow.
Thank you very much.
So, but it's really such a great thing right now. This dynamic that we're living with, it's going to redefine. Do you agree with me that this environment, still talking about this confinement and the whirlwind that we've been through emotionally and as a society and as a culture, I believe that relationship wise, it's going either define or test a lot of relationships. It's either going to strengthen you or really put things in perspective to say, hey, you know what, maybe this is all it's cracked up to be. For me and my wife personally, it's been, very revealing. And I realized that, having been together for 16 years, we have our formula and our system still works. Still testy sometimes, but it's ride or die. But, do you agree with me that for relationships, this is a very, very testy time?
Oh yeah, definitely. This, like I said, it's like, you're gonna make it or break it. Like some, enjoy that. If I could say the fact that they could, leave and do things and then come back whenever they wanted to and be free or live like a single life even though they were in a relationship. But now that you have to stay with your partner, now that you have to stay with your family and spend time with your family, now it's a different ballgame. Now you realize that, okay, finally, maybe it's not the teacher's fault if my kid is acting up. Maybe I have a little something to do with it. Now that parents have to come together or team up to get through this, either to support the kids or even with each other. This is a time where couples are going to realize that, okay, either we put our hands together and we work through it, or either this is going to break us. And I'm really hoping that people will choose or will fight for the option of staying together and not let this situation break them apart. Because if the little wind, if I can feel like that little wind of staying at home is such a shocker, such a house breaker, man, life gets tougher than that. Life really gets tougher than that. So we need to come together and really make sure that we fight for what we believe in. And if you believe in your relationship, if you want to put in the work for your relationship, like I said, it doesn't come easy, but it's worth it. It's more than worth it.
My man. Jeez, so much great energy. So much great energy. We could talk, as you can see, energy attracts energy in the universe. We could be going for hours on end, but I wouldn't keep my promise. I'm a very committed and a very ethical interviewer. So I know we're coming on top of the hour, but Max, first and foremost, thank you so much for this terrific conversation. It's been a gem and a pleasure. Our first connection, I hope not the last. But I just want to celebrate. I really, really want to celebrate you for everything you're doing. Thank you very much, Tataina, for introducing us and making that connection happen. I'm definitely going to keep in touch and, just keep following you on the Instagrams of this world. But hey, shameless plugging time. Where can the listeners connect with you on the interwebs, my friend?
All right. So every Thursday, we have the Man Cave where we invite men, businessmen, fathers, different personalities to come and share their truth about relationship, about how they went through either the sacrifices that they have made with their businesses or their goals or their vision. We know that we're really goal-oriented vision oriented. So we get the time to discuss with different men on on different levels. So there's comedians that have made big shows that are coming on the set, if I could call it like that, on the set on the IG Live. So that's every Thursday at 9. Then of course I have the vlog for my family. It's called Family Cruz. Family Cruz vlog. So that's a vlog that we wanted to do to share the reality that it is possible to be married, to stay together, to have kids, but also to aspire to have goals. My wife has goals, I have goals, and we also have goals together that we want to achieve. So, and then also there's my page, I am Max de la Cruz, where I post motivational, I post my reality, my truth as a father, businessman, entrepreneur. And,
such great energy.
Yeah.
I love that page.
Yeah.
I love that page. So visually pleasing, just like gets me jazzed. My kind of page.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Definitely. But guys, don't worry. I definitely, as always, and truthfully and faithfully, I will link up all the web presences for Max on the interwebs, on the blog post once it goes live. Max, running tradition, not to put you on the spot, but it's a running tradition on the podcast. As we're exiting the podcast, we always leave the floor to the guest. A quote, a kind thought, call to action, favorite citation, a song, a sonnet, a bedtime story you tell your kids. What can we leave them with? You know, taking that next step tomorrow towards the next level. What can we leave them with?
I would say, off the top of my head, I would say that you are worth more than what you value yourself at. Sometimes we either we do it unconsciously or because someone has decreed or said some comments about ourselves, we tend to devalue our worth. I just want to tell to anybody listening out there that you are worth a lot more than what you think. And some people will see it and abuse it. And along the line, once you start realizing the jewel and the worth and the gold that is within you, you're going to realize that you do not have to endure what you've been enduring. So I just want to leave someone with that. Like there is value in what you have. There is value in what you're bringing, and do not let your entourage. It could be close family. It could even be a spouse at times. But if you have that vision and if you have that goal, that thing that you want to achieve, of course it will seem impossible, but it is tailor-made for your future self. So just believe in yourself, continue, and you will reap 100% of what you sow.
Wow. How do these wonderful people keep blessing my platform with these wonderful gems? Guys, you heard it here first. Max de la Cruz inviting you to always tap into the worth and value and jewel that resides inside you, and please make it shine. Yeah. Max, I am blessed and honored for this connection. Thank you so much for your wisdom, patience, and of course, because all we have right now is time, and the fact that you actually can hold space for us and share your wisdom and just your incredible vision is something that we truly do value on the podcast. So thank you very much. And again, I can't wish you nothing but the best to you and yours. Again, stay safe. I know we're isolated right now, but as soon as these things calm down, open invite. Anytime you want to be back on the program, my friend, please just know that you have a friend waiting. Just, I'll have an open slot with your name on it. Not a problem.
Thank you, man. I will take it, Shirley. Thank you very much, sir.
Guys, Awaken the Awesome podcast, another episode in the can. Thank you so much for your wonderful support. Please do rate and share the podcast if you find some worth and truth that can actually be of use to you or a fellow loved one. It's always appreciated. Find us on all your favorite platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Google. Guys, as always, have a terrific evening. Stay safe, be blessed, and as always do, stay awesome. This has been another episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. We always love to get your feedback, so please do drop us a line via Instagram, Facebook, or email. Our email address, awakentheawesome@gmail.com. Do visit our official website at awakentheawesome.ca, where you can find our entire back catalog of episodes and incredible guests. Also, if you haven't already, please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, give us a rating, and leave us a review, as this helps us tremendously in growing this podcast and spreading the word to more awesome listeners like you. We always appreciate your support, and thank you for listening. Stay awesome.